Welcome to the Cosmic Weather Report. The intention is to help you orient with the cosmos, because when you can orient with what's alive and the energy, when you have awareness of it, you get to flow with it.
So we are in a new gene key. Last week we were in gene key 7 and now we are in gene key 4, but we're still having energies in both those gene keys. And we're going to speak about the new moon tomorrow. So let's look at the quick chart right now in this moment. We can see that the moon in 7, in the 4th line, is approaching the sun in gate 4. However, Venus is retrograde. You can even see that here with the little RX. So she's going back into 7. So we could say that for the new moon, Venus and the moon are changing places. So she's going back into inner guidance, and Venus has to do with our values, our relationship has to do with love. It's a personal planet. It's very close to the Earth. Both Venus and Mars are close to the Earth. So feeling into what is your inner guidance, especially in terms of relationships and your values. And then we're going to have the moon and the sun together. And this is the chart for tomorrow, where we see 4.5 and again 4.5 in the moon. And that's the gene key that speaks about understanding and forgiveness. And the 5th line core wound is also the core wound of forgiveness. The 5th seal is about forgiveness. There is something highlighted here tomorrow in this 5-1 profile that is on the themes of understanding and forgiveness.
If you have access to Richard's 7 sacred seals, I would definitely listen to his meditation for the 5th seal. The 5th seal that talks about the 5th core wound of guilt and goes into that forgiveness that the 4th gene key corresponds to. And we do have a blog post on our website from Allison Duhana. She did a post about the Venus star point that happened on Sunday in 4.2. And that was Venus was conjunct the sun. And there's like this 9-month cycle we're also going into with Venus. And the next Venus star point is going to happen in 35.2. So we'll be working through certain kind of themes. And if you're interested in reading about that, you can read that on our website. I'll also post a link later. But we have a lot of opportunity right now to understand the behavior of others, the behavior of ourselves, the projection of others. Things can come up because there's reactivity in the 49 with the Earth being in gate 49. That's the revolutionary archetype. So we have reaction to rebirth through the pathway of revolution. And we can not necessarily, we can contain our reaction and move into a response-oriented expression when we can allow ourselves to understand the situation and to also know that everybody has their own experience of this world, and their actions they're taking actions based on what's aligned for themselves or what they are hiding, suppressing, avoiding with their wounding. So we have to just make sure that we're mindful in our interactions with our relationships, because there's a high potential for reactivity here today. So just allowing yourself to breathe, take pause before you speak. 5th line has a lot to do with the voice and the expression. So when you feel the emotional turbines turning inside of you, breathe into this space before you say anything, commit to any kind of expression. And sometimes the intellectual realm is a trap, is a labyrinth. So if in any way, since the moon is a feminine being, if in any way you can express yourself without words and just be like, can I offer you my expression so that you know what I'm feeling inside? You don't need to intellectualize it. You just go to the person and share artfully what's alive in you, the pain, the anguish, the anger, the whatever, and just offer it so that they can understand what you're going through without needing to. There's so much misunderstanding also in communication in the mental realm. People don't always meet, but at least your emotion can be expressed, because that's probably half the reason why we're using our words, is because we're trying to intellectualize a feeling that we're feeling when we should just express it artfully, tactfully.
Yeah, a few more things. So we are already in the new moon energy. It's about 12 hours away, mid morning, if you're in the US. So a few things that we can see in this new moon chart is that partly what Ash is speaking about in the communication, the EQ is 6.1. So there is going to be an energy where there could be misunderstandings, there could be conflict, there could be turbulence. And that could also feel for you as like you are losing. The first line is feeling disempowered or even self-sabotage. And we also have a first line SQ, which is provocation. So it's the self that's being provoked. And in that, look at your own provocation and be, what part of me is it that is provoked? When you look at this chart, you see there are a lot of 5 and 6 lines, and there are a lot of first and second lines. There are not that many, there are no third line and only one fourth line. There is something here even where it can be a little bit hard to bridge that instinctive, more like almost physical 1 and 2. And that is either very internalized or very outwards. The 1 is very internalized, the 2 is very outwards. And then the 5 and the 6, they're very much in the head, can be idealistic, but can also be very much I'm right and judgmental. And then we don't have that much that is feeling in the emotional realm. The moon, of course, is emotional in itself, but what are the tools that you're using? Because it feels a lot with this chart that we might not necessarily feel like we have access to all the emotional tools. So I feel that maybe this is more of a new moon where we want to use the moon and Venus that are right there and the sun to illuminate what's there. It's in Leo, it's in the 5th line. It could be a lot of expression outwards, but instead of exaggerating what comes out, to feel if you can find that balance with what you're working on the inside and what comes out. And not be too spontaneous. And the last thing I want to say is I see the 6th line in the attraction, and that's the chemistry and relationships. And it feels to me, this is a new moon, it's a new cycle. Whenever there is a relationship where you feel you have to control in order for you to want to be in that relationship, probably it's a relationship that in some way is not for you anymore. Because if you need to control for it to exist, then it doesn't have that balance really between the feminine, the masculine, between the expression and the reception of what is.
Yeah. And in the 6th line reality of the 21, there's authority, autonomy, and, that personal independence that is important to be in both individuals. Connection is important, but individuality and autonomy. And so one cannot be in charge or control of the other. And I think with the 6 lines being really objective, like Bella was saying, and maybe idealistic, I think the best thing for the mind to do in this moment is to observe and to help resource the first line that could be suppressed. Because look at the 6.1 and the 39.1. We've got repression here. These ways are pathways for empowerment and for freedom and for intimacy. But if we're too objective and arrogant about the situation, then there's not that realness, rawness, intimacy that can come on the other side of the 39 and the 6. Other side of the 39 is the 55, freedom. Other side of the 6, and I'm not talking opposition points, I'm talking harmonic gates. The other side of the 6 is intimacy, the 59, which we're going into soon. So harvest the energy in this transit as we move into the playmate archetype, where intimacy and transparency are available. So before, like Bella said, before you express it, sit with it and be like, what's alive in me? Because you're going to need to get to the roots. You're going to need to get to what's repressed. And that may take a little time and your devotion and your discipline to kind of get there. Do you feel resourced, or do you feel like a victim? Do you feel empowered in this process? Do you have tools to help you get to the emotional realm? Or are you avoiding your pain body and just being intellectual? Can you get into the pain body? And vocation sphere, core wound, distraction. Where are you distracting yourself from your pain?
And how are you trying to control life and relationships in order to be able to bear your reality? This is also coping patterns or distractions. We have the 56 in the core wound and the 21 in the attraction. And any kind of addictions, patterns that you are perpetuating in order not to have to feel that pain body or that unease is also something that wants to come up. So that's why the 39 and the 6 are kind of triggering us a little bit extra, like Ashley was saying, to see those repressed things that maybe we usually find a way of not even getting in touch with.
The This is so cool. What's going to make you prosperous during this new moon and as we're coming into things is your ability to be with what's alive, to be with what is inside of you, and get creative and innovative with how to work with it. Like, you're going to need to take initiative off of the things that you're only distracting yourself because you're avoiding withdrawing and avoiding what's really there, because the pain body hurts. There's something there for you. And if you can enrich yourself in that experience, I feel like there's a lot of fruit to harvest there that'll help you understand more and more why you're doing what you're doing, why you're experiencing what you're experiencing in relationships in different places. And then also the opportunity to unite with another. We've got 2.2 in the pearl. Did you mention that when you said, because in the beginning you said you were speaking about the pearl, right? You mentioned it, but I don't think you went into it.
I mentioned before we went live. Yeah. That being the legacy, it's like the antidote to the second line of denial and the core wound. The two is the acceptance of all.
And can you hold inside of you that you can be right and you can be wrong, and they can be right and they can be wrong, instead of the sixth line going into arrogance, feeling like they know what's happening. Allow yourself to still let them in and communicating what's hurting inside of you and what's the reality of your situation, and allowing them to communicate what's hurting them, what's the reality of their situation. If this is happening in relationships, if this is where it's showing up. And that's the potential here. We've got the 4, we've got the 7, we've got the 59 and the 29 that are the codon ring of union. And we spoke about that last week. So you can check out that live stream we did. The title says codon ring of union in it as well. So check that out, because there's potential in the union and in the alchemy.
If you want to look forward, tomorrow Astro and I are doing the Virgo season masterclass.
Hopefully you join us, and thank you for being interested in walking the wheel with us and learning about the transits. And like Bella said, we're going into Virgo season, and the 29 is actually the bridge between, like, a tiny degree in the 29. It is the portal keeper for Virgo season. So can you carry that devotion and commitment with you into the next season that we're moving into? It'll be good. Thank you.
Thank you.